Today's show is brought to you by HomebrewSupply.com. Homebrew Supply is your one-stop shop for brew day ingredients, recipes, equipment, and more. Take advantage of everyday low pricing and everyday flat rate shipping only at HomebrewSupply.com. Go to HomebrewSupply.com right now and use our promo code HHH to get 5% off your order. HomebrewSupply.com. Let us help make your brew day better.
Entertaining shows with content that spreads information and sparks discourse throughout the community. This is the Pearl Media Network.
Hello and welcome to the Homebrew Happy Hour. This is the show where we supply the answers to your homebrewing questions and discuss all things related to craft beer. If you have a question you would like us to discuss on a future episode, you can go to homebrewhappyhour.com and click on that submit a question link at the top of the page, or now you can call or text them in by using 325-305-6107. I am your host, Joshua Stubing. Today, I am joined by Yoni Medhin, the co-founder and CEO of Grain4Grain, a company that upcycles spent barley from breweries and turns it into delicious, low-carb, high-protein, high-fiber flour. They also are active in their community, and for every pound sold, they give a pound away, which we'll go over more here in a little bit. Yoni, my friend, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Josh. This is exciting. Appreciate you guys for bringing us on.
Yeah, absolutely. Your team had reached out, so it's no secret, listeners of the show know that we're affiliated with KegConnection.com and HomebrewSupply.com, and I guess y'all have been actively selling your prepackaged flours to homebrewers, or you're looking to get there, because you know that homebrewers are very familiar with spent grains. They probably have their own. And if anything, even if they're not buying your packs, your recipes are probably relevant to them because we all have spent grain at the end of a brew day. And most of the time we either throw it away or some people are creative with it. But when we told them about doing the podcast, your team was like, oh, we would love to be on that show. And I was like, I would love to have you on this show. Because if there's one thing you need to know about me, Yoni, I care about my health. If you can't tell, the camera makes me look skinny, but the one time the camera makes me look skinny. But no, your products, I did my homework a little bit. It's very interesting because, like I said, who would have thought, it is the ultimate form of, upcycles, I think the word y'all use, to take something that's viewed as waste, totally reuse it, and make something that's usable, I'm assuming delicious. We're getting our pack in the mail from y'all, so I'll let you know. I'll be real with you if it's delicious or not. But can you give me a little?
I appreciate the honesty.
Yeah, can you give me just a brief history of yourself, your background with this whole spent grain stuff, and then the founding of Grain4Grain?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm originally from Denver, and so is my co-founder. He's from Colorado Springs, so big beer scene over there. And so we met, we were going to engineering school together in Golden, Colorado. So quite a few breweries in that area, Coors Brewery. So we used to go to Coors a lot for their free beers. And so I'm surrounded by beer culture. And so my senior year, as I was wrapping up college, I decided to take up brewing just for fun. And so I went through the process, picked out my grain. We rented this small facility in downtown Denver. And then all of a sudden, you get your spent grain at the end. And so I asked the guy, the dude that was helping us kind of going through the process. And he basically, explained to me, hey man, this is the barley, all the carbs are taken out. You have your beer that's fermented. And your listeners are going to know it's just all protein and fiber, but it rots super quick. And so most brewers just throw it away. Or they'll try and find a way to give it to cattle. Very few people actually make really anything with it. And so kind of locked that away, went to work as an engineer. And then about a year into it, I kind of got the itch of, I want to maybe build my own thing, kind of get my own a little bit independence outside of a job. And then so decided to pick the project back up again. And we spent about a year and a half trying to tackle the problem of, how do you dry tons and tons and tons. So in the US, we did the math. It's about 6 million tons, which is 4.5 million dump trucks lined up end to end in the US alone of spent grain flour. So it's a lot. It's a lot of grain. All of it kind of not really being used for any human consumption outside of the end product, which is the beer. And so we spent a year and a half trying to see if we can kind of do what AB InBev, Miller Coors, Heineken couldn't do. And that was find a way to dry it really cost efficiently and quickly so that none of it goes to waste. And so we were able to drop the dry time with this process from 5 to 7 hours down to 15 minutes.
Oh, wow.
And so we can dry spent grain. It's not, chemically altering. You just throw it in a big dryer and comes out as flour at the end. And so we were able to then use that to make some products. So we launched the brand Grain4Grain to kind of show off the flour that's now being available commercially. And really just also highlight our passions, which is being, outside to sustainability. I'm a big skier. Matt loves lifting and outdoors as well. And then also highlight, the tech behind it as well as giving back. So it was a lot of fun kind of coming up with it. And then now we're finally hitting our stride as a startup and finally kind of getting some real traction.
Yeah, no kidding. And maybe it's because, I'm in the Austin area. And y'all are out of San Antonio, correct? Like that. Yep, that's where you're headquartered. What brought you? What brought you to San Antonio? Like, was it work? What was it?
Yeah. So originally, my co-founder Matt, he was already in San Antonio, and we were both in oil and gas. I was in the field in North Dakota. I was working on this for this midstream company. He was working for an upstream company here in Texas, and they had an office in San Antonio. And we had the option of doing this in Houston, San Antonio, or both of us quitting our jobs and moving to Denver and launching it there, or Austin, or some other favorable city. And then he fell in love with this girl in the Army who's now his wife, and so he's like, "I'm gonna try and have us stay here." I was like, "All right, well, the deal is that you need to find us a brewery that's going to supply us, and then we also need to find a location that's cost efficient." And so he did the work, and we're like, "Okay." So I quit my job and. Which was I will say I miss the paychecks every now and then, but it is the path of entrepreneurship, I guess. And so moved to San Antonio and we launched it here, which turned out to be a very good decision for a variety of reasons.
I love San Antonio. I'm born and raised from there. I mean, I moved to the Austin area when I was like 8. I say I moved. My pop made us move, but
you're technically an Austin native. At least you're not like everybody else.
Yeah. Very tiny little burb right outside of Austin called Manchac, Manchaca. Pardon me. People are gonna look up Manchac and not know how to spell that. San Antonio, the brewing scene right now, or the microbrew scene is wonderful. Like there's a lot. When y'all first moved, did you find it? Were y'all received well when you pitched your idea to these breweries? Were they like, "Oh, that sounds kind of weird. No, we don't want to do that for liability," or were they like, "Yes, please, we have all of this. Take it off of our hand"?
Yeah. So we had to do. So you brought up liability, which is a good thing, and then there was also a big challenge too. A lot of breweries, and rightfully so, they need, in Texas, especially with the big agriculture scene here, they have developed really good relationships with farmers, and so what we were trying to tell them was like, look. The farmer is going to be able to get grain one way or another. We're offering you guys not only a bit more revenue, we'll pay you a bit more for the grain, but this is a way better vision for your byproduct, which is from a bioavailability standpoint, the farmer is taking thousands of pounds to feed one cow to make, say, 100 meals worth of meat. And we're going to be able to take those thousands of pounds and create thousands of meals with their flour. And so we're like telling them, hey, this is like a much bigger vision just for your waste, and it'll help you guys too. And so it was just a matter of finding a brewery that kind of bought in, and quite a few did buy in. But we also were more concerned with size as well. So the the limit as far as how small of a brewery, I think we've kind of limited down to about 7,000 to 8,000 barrels a year. So that's about the size that is adequate for us to actually do the work to, create the logistics to take their grain and put it through our process. So Freetail Brewery is our main partner in San Antonio. Freetail is awesome.
Love Freetail. Good beer, really good people too.
Yep.
So when you started the company, how long was the process before you could effectively package it and start selling the spent grain? Because I know you said like in your R&D kind of phase of it, it was like, well, crap, we got to get this figured out. Like the drying part quick because no one's going to want to, it's kind of like with brewing, the worst part, and I'm saying worst in a kind of hyperbolic way, it's the waiting period, right? The fermentation, the cold crashing, then the drinking. It's like, wow, if I could invent the $1 million idea, it would be instant beer, like from brew. And obviously I can go to the store and just buy a 6-pack, boom, $1 million idea. Yeah. But quicker fermentation. You know what I mean? Like to have a great tasting beer in a much shorter time. That's the dream. Like, what was it for y'all? You had the idea, you had the conception, you get the grains. How quick from our first batch of grains to, oh, we're packaging this and doing this?
Man, I think the first real batch of grain we picked up was in December of 2016. And so when we picked that up, that was the first time where I'm like, okay, I got to figure out what to do with this. So that's when we started using the dryer. And then going through that process. But so it was probably from 2016 through the fall of 2018 was from when we first picked it up to when we said in basically, the fall of 2018, we now have a packaged good that we feel comfortable selling to customers.
And is this a process that you can either like expand on yourself or franchise out? Because you came from Denver, which I would argue is beer mecca in our country, right? Like that tri-state area of Denver, Colorado Springs, Boulder, like there's so much good beer in that area. We go there as much as we can and try to get, is this like part of your vision to, hey, San Antonio's great and they're doing this well as the demand is there, as you're growing? Because I know, in Texas, a lot of our listeners aren't from Texas, but we have HEB and y'all's products. I saw y'all got third place in their
Quest,
in their
Texas Quest,
yeah, exactly, and which is a huge deal. Like people don't realize how huge HEB is in our state. So as your retail presence and shelf presence is increasing, is your production? Do you think like, hey, it might make sense to go back to Colorado and put an operation there too? Just because of how easy it would be to get beer. But to be fair, all over the country, the brewing scene is massive, right? So you could kind of take your pick of the litter.
Yeah, so for us, we're really focused on. So we do have our packaged goods, and I'd love to talk to you guys about that as well. And that's, I think, where your listeners will be able to interact with us the best is by trying some of our products that we have available online if they're not in Texas. But where we're focused on is on the manufacturing side. So we've really built up a pretty robust manufacturing process that we can almost hit Control C, Control V in any city. And so you can build central locations, say in Denver or in that kind of Denver metro area that can service Boulder, downtown Denver, Fort Collins, all the way down to the Springs. And you can do the same thing in Nashville. You can do the same thing in Portland, Wisconsin. So anywhere where there's these clusters of breweries, even Minneapolis, all of these areas, you can really build one or two of these facilities per city. And you'd be able to service almost every single microbrewery with just two of these facilities and really get their name out there as a sustainable brewery, but also be able to actually like create a sizable amount of flower because we are already completely out of capacity, which is crazy.
That's a good problem to have, right?
Better than the alternative. Way better than the
alternative, which is you having to get a real job again. Like nobody wants to do that.
I know. I love it. I will say though, I've never worked this long and this hard before, so I don't know if I'm ready to get a real job again, quote unquote.
Yeah, I know, and a lot of people. I've been with so one of the main co-hosts. His name's Todd, and he runs the retail operations, and I've been with him for 13 years. And one of the things, when he left his job, his full time at the time to do the retail thing full time, he says the same thing. It was like, I wouldn't change anything for the world, but I work way longer and way harder than I ever did at that other job. Like it's not 40-hour weeks, man. It's 70-hour weeks. And it's people running their own show. I'm preaching to the choir now to you, but people who run their own business it's you're invested for life, right? Like it's your livelihood.
Yeah, it's a bit different. Like, so for me, I've been able to like really separate my identity from Grain4Grain. Like it's a project for me. It's my gift. Like, I love it. It's kind of my gift to humanity. It's like, hey, this is what I'm working on. This is for you people. But outside of that, like it is also kind of part of my life in a different way where you spend so much time with it. You got to find ways to integrate it with the other parts of your life without letting it control it. But I'm lucky. I'm single. I don't have kids. I have one roommate. I just do my thing, so I don't have a lot of responsibilities either. So I can get by with with not doing much
Your
as far as my like personal life goes.
your gift to humanity is way better than mine because this show is all I have to offer. It's not.
Hey, this is great. This is great. This is great.
It's not looking good for me, man. Oh, I'm sweating over here now. Like, oh God, this guy, he wants to help humanity. I'm just here making fat jokes and stuff every week.
Man, come on. No, not at all. Not at all. This sounds great.
Before we get into the products that y'all do sell, I want to ask, because it started, about 10 minutes ago with you talking about brewing a batch yourself. One, what's the state of that now? Are you still brewing, or have you given up brewing?
I have not given it up. I would say it's on a pause. Right now, I just don't have the time to be able to actually, have fun and brew my own beer. If I'm not working, I'm like trying to just like take care of myself a little bit. So it is a little difficult.
Do you remember what that batch was, and how did it turn out?
It was a double IPA. I cannot tell you the grain combination, but the brew was for a rugby party. So I was bottling 50 of these tall beers. Oh my God. They had a lot of sediment. So we did not do a good job filtering. It was very sediment heavy. Like you would drink it and then you would look at the bottom. You're like, oh my God. But it was pretty good. It got some guys turned up. I will say our rugby party that day at my house was a bit of a disaster, which was the goal.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I'll just say we've done some IPAs before where at the end of it, we keg. One thing, bottling is terrible, man. Bottling's terrible, but we keg. Yeah, we keg. But I dry hopped one time out of a bag, and just long story short, we were picking hop particles out of our teeth. Like you drink a glass, you're like,
God.
Yeah, it was not enjoyable. But again, full disclosure, because I'm sure you don't watch the show. Most of us are not huge fans of IPAs for a number of reasons, but mainly because when I brew them myself, I always screw them up and I get hop particles in my teeth, and that's just not enjoyable. But with
I just tried. I'm like, I like IPAs. I'm gonna try and brew one, and it was not. It was kind of a disaster. It tasted okay, but it was a disaster.
What we're going to have to do, though, when you're ready to brew again, you hit us up, and we'll get you hooked up, especially because you're right down the road from us, man. You're not far off. We got to get you brewing. But that leads me in. That's a segue to my next part is, do you still, you're working side by side with breweries. Is that increased your interest in craft beer, and or you look pretty relatively fit? How have you not gotten fat from hanging out with craft breweries?
Oh man. So yes, it has actually given me a huge appreciation for what breweries do and the art of brewing. It's actually pretty incredible. Like I used to always think beer was fairly homogenous, and in a way it is, from one brewery to another brewery, there are a ton of similarities, but each beer, the way they're looking at it, the way they're crafting it kind of is from the head of who the head brewer is and his mindset. So Jason from Freetail, I've never met a more hipster, just dude, just mellowed out, just long hair, tie-dye t-shirt. And then you go down the road and another guy's like a scientist. And so it's just very, very interesting. So I appreciate it quite a bit, just the range of brewing. And so I've come to take people really, I prefer hey, let's avoid the butt piss and the other stuff, and let's try some real, just kidding. I love, actually, I hope to work with Bud Light, so I hope they don't.
They don't watch this show, man. You're fine.
Maybe we can edit that part out. But that said, for me, I'm really trying to get people to kind of pivot towards just appreciating craft beer and just what it means for the beer scene in America, how it's separating ourselves from the European beer scene. And so it's fun. I'm a very big fan of IPAs, so wherever I can get a new IPA, I just like them a lot. It was just the first beer that really caught my attention. I like the bitterness of it for some reason, and so that's just what caught me on.
What you need in your sales department, I'm not trying to apply for a job, maybe. You need kind of a pudgier dude who can go with a beard, who can go to these breweries and blend in, man. I am camouflage at these breweries. They see me and they're like, "Are you here to work, or what do you?" And I'm like, "Oh man."
Actually, I wear this these hoodie t-shirts, so it's cut off, so kind of I don't look chubby in it, but so I run a lot. I mean, I used to play rugby in college, so I just like love. I don't know. I do CrossFit, so I'm one of those weird cult people. And so like I know like we make low carb food, so there's probably a little bit of bias there for me. That said, when I go to the brewery, I'm wearing baggy t-shirts. I'm just like, "What's up, guys?" And I'll drink a beer with them. So I still drink kind of semi regularly.
Yeah, well, I was going to say too. All kidding aside, maybe it's the Central Texas scene, and because I've been here so long, if you go like I used to go to Hops and Grain a bunch in East Austin.
Yeah,
and talking about hipster. Josh and his whole team there, total hipsters. I love them. Again, I look the part, but you don't see the like. There are some places you go and you just ask a random person, "What do you think of when beer drinker?" And they describe their dad, who like middle-aged dude, cargo shorts, a gut, and partially balding. I actually just described myself, but they talk about that. But then you go to Austin or San Antonio breweries, and it's like being fit is like a trend the last decade in Central Texas. And coming from Denver, you probably were like, "Oh, thank God," but which made sense why you went into the low carb thing, because that is also, I don't use the word fad like pejoratively, but that is the hot thing right now, is people caring about their health, but also wanting to take part in the pleasures of life. Cause like, that's why hard seltzer has just skyrocketed, right? Because people want, they like booze. I think everyone agrees that booze is cool, but they don't like bellies. Like bellies is what, so like low carb is what people are looking at right now, right? Where they're thinking, how can I be healthy and still drink? And that's why you see Michelob Ultra, their commercials on emphasizing, "Oh, but our calories are nothing and our carbs are nothing." Because, when I started drinking, I didn't read the side of the bottle or can. Like I didn't go, "Bartender, what is the caloric count of that pint you're pouring me?" I just said, "Can I have another? Because I'm getting drunk tonight." Are you finding it would like the breweries and the people that you're serving are in that same headspace as you, where it's like health conscious people trying to maybe promote longevity of their own health and their life?
yeah. I think no, what you're saying is right. I think part of it too is like if you look at like proliferation of like what's a like what is this a normal American person, and that's becoming like the kind of the very fit person from LA or Denver, and people want to look like that, but they also like the taste of beer. So I think a lot of breweries are also finding ways to just say, "Hey, this is part of like a balanced lifestyle. Like, have fun. You don't need to be, you don't need to be drinking half a keg, with just 3 Hey, okay. Maybe occasionally on a couple of days. I got you. But and so like for example, all the breweries that we work with, most of them the guys ride their bike to work. And so that's like kind of the thing. And I know in Austin they almost all do. And so just is like one of those things where I think it's breweries are trying to find a way to, tend or go towards that trend of saying, "Hey, we're not necessarily the healthiest thing, but we can be part of a lifestyle that's fun and not just like super health focused. We're not trying to promote, you all need a six pack, but you all need to have fun too."
Yeah.
While you're having a balanced lifestyle. Anybody that just eats spinach 5 times a day is kind of not, they're not the type of person you want to hang out with.
No, they're miserable people. No, they.
Yes, yeah.
Hell, you health freaks. Ugh. No, I again too. Like being from most of my family is still in San Antonio. I don't get when it is more shocking to see fit people in San Antonio than it is not fit. I think San Antonio, it's like I say that I hang out at Mexican restaurants all the time. Maybe that's, just my anecdotal bubble, which by the way, Blanco Cafe, if you're ever in San Antonio, to our listeners, best Mexican food in the world. And they got like 3 or 4 locations now, but holy moly, I
100%.
love Blanco Cafe is my favorite. But anyway, back to the topic on the show. Sorry, I digress way too frequently. We talked about the products that you have, or that we're getting to that. What is the variety? Like, are you making flours specific for a type of like, "Hey, buy this pack and it's perfect for pancakes," or "Hey, buy this pack and it's perfect for this"? Or do you just sell the flour and kind of guide them through recipes like printed on the packaging or that they can get on your website or whatever?
Yeah, so a little bit, mostly the latter, but so we're saying like, "Hey, here's a general use flour." make, here's recipes on our website, the recipes that you can find on the packaging, but more so too, we're trying to become like just another staple alternative flour. So like you can go online, you type in almond flour. Not only will you see, whoever the top seller of almond flour, they have got their own recipes, but a ton of bloggers and people have been making their own. So we're trying to use our flour to promote that and say like, hey, type in spent grain. We're going to give you guys a good start, but hey, we haven't made like a thin crust pizza dough. Maybe somebody can make that with our flour. Or we haven't made, a double chocolate cake that's keto friendly. Somebody can make that. And so we've made a raspberry cake, a pumpkin spice cake. So we made like a bunch of weird stuff just to show kind of the wide range of it.
Incredible. I know, like I said, I think your team's sending us a pancake mix. I think they gave us an option, and as soon as I saw pancake, I was like, yes, pancake. I want to do the pancake
mix is dope.
Got to do the pancake. Good. Absolutely. I'm a fan of, even, one time I was a lot heavier than I am now. And long story short, my doctor had me read this book called Wheat Belly, which is all about like eliminating wheat, grain, and sugar. I read it many years ago. But when I cut that stuff out of my diet, the weight just flew off of me, but I got very familiar with cooking or baking with coconut flour and almond flour and making alternatives. And it is amazing how close to the air quote real thing you can get with these low carb flours, right? I will say this though, as a half Mexican, almond flour tortillas are an abomination. I'll never try them again. But yeah, do your feedback, are y'all getting people who are new to the low carb scene and going, oh my God, I thought it was going to be just bland and terrible, but it's very close to what I was expecting or what I was hoping for?
Yeah, I'll give you a good example. So HEB, which we were talking about, that grocery store, so their bakers got super excited and they're creating a low carb keto bread loaf, low carb keto hamburger bun, and low carb keto hot dog, and they taste very good. Like to the point where, depending on if you like a little bit more rye or rustic flavored breads, this bread, in my opinion, is a little bit better than white flour or wheat flour. It is really tasty, and it's like 4 grams of carbs per slice.
Oh, wow. But by per normal slice, not like what, not my
No,
slice.
No. I'm not talking about 14 crumbs.
Yeah.
I'm talking like a legit, oh my gosh, don't even get me started.
No, please do, because I hate it too.
Yeah. Like our pancake mix, just for example, it has 8 net grams of carbs. And we saw somebody else that had very similar. The pancake was like the size of your thumb, very small. Our pancakes are like legit. It's 5 4-inch pancakes gives you 8 grams of carbs. And so we're like, let's go. But it is, it's a bit of a challenge, with that messaging, trying to tell people like your serving size matters. It says 5 grams of carbs, but you just had 50 because you had 4 pieces.
Right. I was going to say that was, I'm glad you brought that up, or that we talked about it, because one of the things that I think gets people out of healthy lifestyle changes or even whatever diet they're trying is the bait and switch of the marketing, where it's like, like the photos are so zoomed in of that piece of pumpkin pie that's keto friendly. You're like, oh, that looks delicious. And then you make it and you're like, oh my God, I'm not satisfied at all. Mainly because we're also so used to having way too much food with the meal, right? Like, I know, again, yes. I hate playing my Latino card, but my mother, as a Mexican woman, did not know how to cook for only 4 people in the household. She cooked for 40 people. And then she kept putting it's like, I have a very unhealthy vision of what a serving should be. So it is, but it is nice when, like people who are caring about their health start to realize that, right? Like they're like, oh, this fist-sized thing of veggies is what I need, not that little teaspoon I was putting, and then that whole big thing of starchy potatoes or whatever. Like,
yeah.
Are y'all on your packaging? Is it very clear, like what people are getting with the serving size and what they can, like the nutritional fats, like stick to this and you're going to stay healthy kind of thing?
Yes, we are. We had a lot of ethical qualms with those marketing techniques. In my opinion, it's a bit of deception, or it is deception, but it's kind of allowed. It's a little weird, but we are very clear. Like on the front of our box, it says like for the pancake mix, it is each serving makes 4 or 5 4-inch pancakes. There are 30 pancakes per box, 6 servings. 6 total servings in a box. It will make this is how much you need to do for this protein and carbs. Same with our flour. half a cup of flour, and then you can run with any of the recipes and you'll know exactly how much fiber and protein you're getting.
Awesome. And so what are the variety of products that you're selling? And like, or if you don't want to go through the names of all of them, like what's the number, but also what are your best sellers or what have been your best sellers recently?
Yeah, so we actually only sell two products. Originally, we were going to become a CPG company. So we had, our pancake mix. We're going to have a variety of flavors, but we right now have the original one and then the flour pouch. But then when COVID hit, we decided to pivot because it's very difficult to get those products selling in grocery stores without, being there in person or doing demos and whatnot. So we are now we're focused on selling the flour wholesale and in bulk to bakeries, other stores, other chains that want to use our flour to make sustainable products. So I mentioned HEB. We're talking with Whole Foods, Pioneer Flour, which is a big flour company based in San Antonio. A few other bakeries in the Northeast. So people that are familiar with beer and spent grain, they can order from us for a very, very, we sell fairly cheap in bulk. So it is much better than just buying the pack at the store.
Yeah, and Pioneer, you name dropped that. Man, that's big. That'd be awesome working with them.
Yeah, we'll see. We've been doing tortilla trials with them.
Really? Okay, I changed my mind.
Are good, man.
I changed my mind about pancake. I want the tortillas now, only because I will absolutely trash them if they're not. I'm kidding.
Oh man! All right, hey, I'll take it, man.
No, I'm kidding. So I'm so butthurt over the almond flour tortilla. A very trusted friend of mine was like, "Hey, try these almond flour tortillas. You can't even tell the difference." I haven't spoken to that person in 5 years. It was that bad. No, I'm kidding.
That is quite the commitment.
Yeah, I'm petty. Wow. I'm petty. Let's start. So you guys, part of y'all's whole vision is obviously upcycling, sustainability, but also giving back. Was that always part of y'all's vision from the beginning? Was going to be, we want to do some community partnership? And how has it been working with y'all now? Because for every pound you sell, you donate a pound. Is that like a generic, like there's a food bank you work with, or is it vary month to month? How did that program come to vision, and how is it being implemented now?
Yeah. So when we started, it was a 1-for-1 donation. And basically that came from Matt and I saying, we have this incredible gift that we want to give to people. It's kind of a bummer that, so for example, in Texas, 70% of I think it's 60% of Texans have pre-diabetes or pre-diabetic or diabetic. A majority of those people are also food insecure. And so we were thinking like, okay, how are we going to get those people our product, and those are the people we're trying to serve the most? What if we found a way to give away our flour? And because we can dry it in 15 minutes, our economics are very favorable. So we're able to give directly rather than doing the whole 1% for the planet, which is good, or any of those type of giving back programs. We're just going to give them our product for free, and we'll let the food bank distribute it that way. So we went to the food bank, did some lectures on healthy eating, worked with some agencies to tell them the benefits of our flour, and then just started donating directly through the San Antonio Food Bank through those for the agencies to then give to the people in need. And so when we started, it was going very well, but then our demand started picking up. So we had to kind of reorient what we were doing. We said, well, giving back in as big of a way, we're literally giving away 50% of our supply right now. And so we had to change it up a bit because we realized that one, it's good to give, but if our company doesn't even exist anymore because we just don't have supply, that's not sustainable for anybody. So we reoriented it to, for every 4 pounds of flour we sell through our CPG products, we give 1 pound away. And that has still been tremendously rewarding. So we've been able to give close to about 8,000 meals worth of flour at the San Antonio Food Bank. So we've donated now to them several thousand pounds of flour that was distributed during COVID, like the very beginning of the grocery store rush. And so a lot of families that were in need, that are diabetic and pre-diabetic, which are who we're targeting with their donations, received at least some meals for about a month to month and a half with our flour. So it's something that we're very passionate about. Matt and I just look at it. We're like, this is the right thing to do. So this is what we're going to do.
Yeah. And I was going to say before we had wrapped it up, if COVID saw a bump in your business or not, because for us, more people were brewing. And so our podcast, the episodes started increasing in numbers and our retail operations in like May, because people were thinking, oh God, we're locked down forever. I need to brew and I'm going to be plastered the last few months of this thing. Did y'all notice an uptick in demand as well? Because like you said, the grocery store rush, or people kind of, just the demand could have been there or could have been increased at the beginning of COVID.
Yeah, we had a huge spike. I mean, I'm talking like 6x spike in just 1 month. And then what was weird though, and this is what made us pivot, was that it then crashed when everybody was like, well, it's still confused what was going on, like in the very beginning of summer. And then it kind of leveled back off to where it was. And so we're like, okay, we probably need to pivot, because we either needed that growth or like part of that growth, and we were, tracking for some growth this year. But COVID just like, it was weird. It was like a big rock drop. So you get a big splash of sales, and then it kind of leveled off and nothing really happened. And then we realized, well, now that we can't market in person, our sales are going to just probably stay flat for a while. And they have. And so we just decided to pivot towards the wholesale side. So we said, okay, there's probably restaurants out there. There's probably CPG companies out there. There's probably bakeries that are trying to find ways to attract new customers. What if we give them that thing? And so worked with several people, including the HEB folks. And then now that has like actually really, really helped us. So now we're looking at beginning to start wanting to source grains from breweries in Austin and in Houston just to meet that demand.
Wow. Yeah. And adapting is so critical this year specifically, right? For most industries.
Yeah, that's the name of the game.
Because I wonder too how like Freetail, I haven't been down there probably actually this whole year, because I usually would have been down there in the summer visiting family. But with COVID, it's just like bars and breweries specifically are just shut down. Did that affect your ability to collect grains, or is that kind of mutually exclusive because you don't really have to be, contact with each other? They can leave it out for you or whatever. Like, did that affect y'all from the brewery collecting side of things?
Not really. We just did the regular, make sure, wear your masks, walk in, just make sure, we'll do a temperature check. So it was fine. And so we've been fine. The only thing we were worried about really was the supply shock. So we thought that, the breweries were they were all kind of weirded, like confused of what was going to happen with their sales, because we knew that beer consumption was going to go up, but not by how much. And then their keg sales went down because of the restaurants and bars. But majority of the breweries, their cans have just shot up. It has been crazy. I'll tell you, almost every single brewery in Texas that was able to have a very good retail presence with cans, they're fine. They're fine. So actually sales are up for quite a few of them.
Right. It's the ones that have just on site that were like, oh my God, what are we going to do?
Yeah. And that's a bummer at the end of the day. Yeah, that was rough.
Yeah. Well, again, though, adapting like this year, it's been a crazy year, right? I don't even have to go into detail. And
it all started when Kobe died, man.
That is exactly what started. Well, yeah. And I'm not a huge basketball fan. I'm trying to think when I noticed the year was going to go bad. Man, I forget. But you're right. Kobe was the beginning of it. And I don't even want to joke about thanks, Kobe, because that's insensitive. And we have iTunes reviews where people point out sometimes I'm insensitive. So I'm trying to work on that. Wrapping this up, man. First off, I really appreciate your time. This has been fun. Where can people learn more about you? Is your distribution right now just in Texas groceries and then on your website? And like I said, any kind of point of contact, if you have Instagram, Facebook, website, all of the above.
Yep. So I'll start with just you can go to www.grain4grain.com. You can find us at Grain4Grain. So it's grain, the number 4 grain, and I'm pretty sure it'll be in your show notes as well. And so they can find us there, LinkedIn, Facebook or Instagram. And then to learn more, really, we've got, some press and videos that you can find on our website, a lot of about us, who we are, what we do. And then if you want to order, you can go just through the website, grain4grain.com. We sell everything in 3-packs just because shipping is really weird. We're selling one is not a lot, but if you guys do sincerely just want one, you can, just throw something in the contacts and we'll see what we can do. But you can buy 3 packs of the flour, 3 packs of the pancake mix online anywhere in the country. And then if you're interested in also buying the flour at bulk or the dried grain, we also just sell the dried spent grain by itself in bulk. There's a wholesale contact that you can reach out to us, and we'll set that up for you too.
And something I just thought of too. Will you? We have a lot of listeners who do use their spent grain. Is there a spot that y'all have recipes, and or are you open to them submitting recipes to you with like their grain bill and like, hey, here's what I made? Like, are y'all very receiving of that kind of feedback from potential customers or listeners of the show?
Yeah. Oh, 100%. If you guys got something that's good, what I would recommend is make sure that the recipe is doable, meaning it's not some crazy concoction that's going to, require a handstand and some weird voodoo. But if you got a very simple, fun recipe, send it our way. We'll make it, verify that it tastes good before we share it, and then we'll share it on our social media and our website. We love to do that. We do that all the time.
Wonderful. Yeah, the whole making sure it's good part. That's why we also wholeheartedly recommend people send us their homebrew just to see if they did the recipe right. We just want to test it for them. That is my actual work for the community is I'm a philanthropist at the end of the day.
You're adding value, Josh.
I know. I am. Now you sound like my mom giving me encouragement. Like, honey, Mijo, you're doing
Hey, man, I'm with you.
Yoni, thank you so much, my friend, for your time. I appreciate it. And like you said, y'all can go to the number 4 grain.com to get more information about their products. And with that will do it for this episode of the Homebrew Happy Hour. If you have a question you'd like us to discuss on a future episode, you can go to homebrewhappyhour.com and click on that submit a question link at the top of the page, or now you can call or text them in by using 325-305-6107. Thank you to our show sponsor, homebrewsupply.com, for supporting us and the homebrewing community. Get the best deals on recipe kits, fresh ingredients, and draft beer equipment at homebrewsupply.com. Right now, you can use our promo code HHH and get 5% off your order. On behalf of the absent Todd Burns and the absent James Carlson and the Pearl Media Network, I'm Joshua Stubing. Thank you for listening.
This program is made possible by the checkbook of Mr. Todd Burns and by contributions to our newly launched Patreon by viewers like you. Visit patreon.com/Homebrew Happy Hour and join our community. Thank you.